Hello guys, I am back from another video and today was about a brand new series called What If Deku Was an Oni? So, before we actually start this episode, I want all of you guys to pick in the comments, specifically on which faction he should be, or more specifically, is he going to become a hero, villain, or vigilante? So, I want all of you guys to pick down below in the comments, and please just do it because I don't really know which to pick him, like either hero, villain, or vigilante, okay? Cool. So, anyway, let us begin. So, we start our episode in the forest. Apparently, his mother decided to leave him there mostly because she didn't have the money, and so decided to leave him there because of that. But more specifically, she decided to put him in the forest in front of a large stairway. More specifically, a Buddhist stairway. What do I mean by this? Well, on top of that stairway is a, temple that worships a specific god. In this case, a god that is basically just like Rage Incarnate. So, when one of the Buddhists sees that this little Izuku is in a basket all alone, he would decide to bring him into the, temple to be raised. So, a few years down the line, as Izuku would be born, but more specifically, he was born and also, lived in a specific room. In this specific room, there was there's this certain sword right in his room. Specifically, a sword that was said to be cursed. Cursed by a terrible, terrible blacksmith, otherwise known as Senji Muramasa, the man who created swords that bring forth madness to its wielder. You probably know this from Fate. Yeah, I'm starting to get more and more ideas from Fate. Thanks, Fate. Anyway, so, Senji Muramasa was said to be a man who was a great blacksmith, but not only that, created special swords that can cut down anybody, including the wielder's enemies. But it comes at a cost. Apparently, in some rumors, he created swords, or specific swords that he calls the Muramasa series, named after himself, were actually made of the blood of several children and innocent people, allowing them to become so powerful. But the more the wielder uses them, the more insane and the more sadistic they become. So, because of this, one of the reigning daimyo of this, era, decided to put him on trial and was executed. So, because of this, that one of his swords, specifically the sword right in Izuku's room, where he's basically living from now on, is said to house the soul of that vengeful blacksmith. And this sword was called, as Izuku would be woken up from a lecture from his, adopted mother, as she would say this, as Izuku would say this, "Oh, sorry about that, Mom. I kinda got tired," as she would say this. Anyway, this sword is known as the Blood River Blade. It's named that because when we first found this blade many years ago, it was in a pool of blood. A innocent's blood, to be more specific. And that is why we must protect it at all costs. And as for you, Izuku, as Izuku would say this, yes, mother? She would say this, "I want you to protect it with your own life. After all, you are living in the same room as that sword." As he would say this, "Don't worry, Mom. Besides, I will protect it." As she would say this, "Good. Now, as for you two," as she would look at Izuku's adopted siblings, as when Izuku leaves, he would hear them being beaten, saying, "You useless pieces of shit! Why won't you fucking listen?" Izuku would always hear that every single day, even though he was treated with kindness, but for his adopted siblings, they were treated like dirt, and it pissed him off. So, one day during his time basically cleaning his room, he would see the Blood River blade, as he would say this. Whatever. Besides, if it were to actually be cursed or whatever, maybe it might I don't know, maybe jump out of me? What a stupid joke. As he would start scrubbing the floors, as after a while now, he would be ordered by his adopted mother that it's time for dinner. So, several Buddhists would come in as they started eating their dinner, mostly just fish and many other, well, Japanese-based foods after all, only from, you basically get it. So, after basically eating, they started cleaning up everything. And as for Izuku, he would start going outside to do his daily prayers. So, praying to the god that he basically has to worship, he hears more beating from his adopted mother, saying to himself, I just wish that she could stop. Even though they're not really my siblings, I just want them to be protected. As this statue would just almost look like it's, looking at him, the statue of the god that they worship. It was a Hashira, or Ashura, or whatever you want to call it. It's said to be a god of destruction or a god of rage in some mythologies, or more specifically, in, Indian mythology. So, after it looked at Izuku, Izuku would look back as it looks like it was just not looking at him at all. As Izuku would say this, I think I'm done for now. After finishing praying, he would start leaving to go back to his room. So, the next day comes. So, on this day, apparently several tourists decide to come into their Buddhist sect, or their place, or the temple, and they decide to go tour around. As for her mother, or at least his mother, because, he's a boy, I accidentally meant her, but I actually mean, his, or he, whatever. So, his mother would decide to, or tell every single, tourist to follow her to look around. As for Izuku, he would also look around as well. Or more specifically, cleaning everything because apparently some of these tourists are not really cleansly. And they would basically throw out their trash. And I mean all of their trash, including some water bottles which were filled with this. Yeah, it was a piss bottle. I'm not even joking. So he would decide to throw it, and also several other, garbage that these people were putting on this sacred land. So, after a while of the tourists basically looking around, it's literally almost nighttime. Until one of these people would say this. So, you're telling me that this place is filled with so many holy objects, right? As his mother, or his adopted mother, would say this. Oh yes, sir. Then, as he would say this. Good. As his body would start to change, as several of the other people would see this as they start throwing their quirks at him, thinking that it's probably a quirk user. But in actuality, he was another yokai, or more specifically, a kitsune. Which, if you don't know, it's basically like a fox demon. So, this fox demon would basically just nullify all of their attacks, as he would say this. How hilarious. As he would start killing every single one of them, including his adopted mother. After Izuku saw this, it was impossible. He thought they were just legends. As the kitsune would say this. Huh? Oh, another stupid child. As he would grab one of his, mother's liver, as he would start chomping on it, like it was, like a burger or something, I don't know. As he would say this. Sorry, kid, but I'm not gonna be hunting you down, so you better say thank you because I'm not really interested in you. Besides, I'm here for the sword. The so-called Blood River Blade or whatever the fuck it's called. As he would start jumping away, going towards his room. So, the rest of the Buddhists that basically witnessed this, or at least some of them that basically are alive, would bring out all of their weapons. If you don't know, apparently some Buddhists would actually have their own armies. Not only that, they would have specific warriors that are basically called warrior monks. And they do not frick around. I'm not even joking. They do not fuck over. Like seriously. I'm not going to talk about one of their legends, but more specifically, well, um, they're very much like super brutal and they're like, in history. If you want to learn about them, maybe just like search them up because holy hell, they were terrifying. So, anyway, these Buddhists would tell Izuku to grab one of his, well, weapons, more specifically, what is that called? Which was a kanabo, which, if you don't know, which is a main weapon for, you guessed it, a freaking Oni. So, after grabbing this heavy weapon, which he was barely, trying to, carry this thing, as he would start running towards, well, his room, where the sword basically is being held. As the rest of the, well, monks that were basically charging in were basically being killed. As he would say this, being the kitsune. Really? You actually think that you can actually beat me with these stupid mortal weapons of yours? As he would grab one of these spears that one of these, well, monks were holding, as he would break them with his own hands. As he would say this. Stupid. Absolutely stupid. As he would grab one, as he would bite on his neck, killing him in an instant. As for his two siblings, or his adopted siblings, they were also killed. Killed in cold blood. Izuku would see this, as he would say this. Huh? Wait, you're that guy that I decided to spare. Why didn't you run? Oh, I'm guessing you're quite brave, eh? I think it's time for me to have some fun, toying with prey like you before I take away that sword. As he would grab him by the neck, as he would say this. So any last, as Izuku would grab the kanabo with all of his strength, and basically whack him across the face, as this, well, yokai, or, kitsune, would basically disappear in a puff of smoke, as he would say this. Oh, you just destroyed my little clone. And I can't believe you actually had the strength to do it. Well then, as you would come from behind, slashing his back, as he would say this. Now that was fun, but unfortunately this is going to be the end for you. Now, before you die, I want you to say this. There is no God helping you. As Izuku would just look over and seize the sword, calling to him. Do you seek to kill your enemies? Do you seek vengeance? Do you seek blood? As Izuku would feel something, his hair would slightly turn whitish. As this kitsune would say this. Huh? Hey, are you listening to me? Hey. As he would start walking towards the sword, the Blood River Blade. As he would say this. Wait. Hey, that's my sword! As he would start charging towards him, as he would grab the sword and unsheaths it. As something becomes blurry. Everything becomes blurry to him. So, After that moment, he would wake up in a daze as he would look around as he would see the kitsune, but severed, or more specifically, every single part of his body is basically all over the walls, as his head is still able to talk, as he would say this. "Ah, that's... that, as Izuku would say this. What did I do? Where... as he would start feeling something, feeling like his head is aching, as he would start grabbing onto his face, as he starts scratching the top of his forehead, as four large horns would appear, piercing his skull, as flesh would fly out of his head, as he would say this, "What is happening to me?" As his eyes, or more specifically, one of his eyes, wait for a second, or more specifically, one of his eyes would start turning into a light blue. He would start getting tattoos all over his body. The sword would start changing as he would start laughing. I never felt so much power. He knows that he's quirkless. He knows that everybody's quirkless in this sect. Only the quirkless were allowed in this, well, Buddhist temple. Except for tourists. But for him, he would start gaining great power, but at a cost. His hand would start growing, or more specifically, his nails would start turning into sharp talons, or should I say more like claws, or should I say Oni-like claws, as his teeth would start turning sharper and sharper, as he would stop laughing. Says this, wielding the kanabo, basically just like putting it, or at least like resting it on his shoulder, as he would say this. "Now, this is the power of a quirk, or at least that's what I think it's a quirk. Now, as for you killing my siblings," as he would grab the head of the, well, wait for a second, the head of the kitsune, as he would say this. "Get up! Wait, what are you doing?" As he would say this. "Just die." As he would start stabbing him multiple times with the blood, well, with the blood river blade, as he keeps stabbing him, and stabbing him, and stabbing him. As he would start feeling immense pain, saying, "Stop! Stop! Please, I'll do anything. I will even serve you. As he would keep stabbing, he doesn't even care. So much blood lost. So much bloodlust. His vision becomes all red, as he would say this. "I love blood." As he would grab the head, or at least the almost, torn apart head of the kitsune, as he would grab it and starts chewing on it and starts sucking up all of the blood and starts eating the flesh of it, as he would say this, "So good." As he would start eating it more and eating it and eating it until his head was gone. It was turned into a skull. As Izuku would say this. His laugh would be heard all across the temple. But he would start crying as he would say this. "I couldn't save you. I couldn't save my adopted siblings. But I don't care. The only thing I care about now is blood. I want blood." So, unfortunately, this is going to be the end of this episode. So, anyway, unfortunately, guys, this is going to be the end of this episode. But before you guys leave, I also want all of you guys to pick in the comments for the ship. But more specifically, not freaking Toga, because even though it's completely obvious, I don't want it, okay? So anyway, don't forget guys, pick which faction would Izuku would like join, maybe like hero, villain, or vigilante. And also for the ship, just pick any ship, okay? Anyway, so I hope you liked the video, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye bye.